Greetings, citizens, and welcome to another adventure of the Real Comic Heroes podcast. My name's Travis.
And my name is Patrick. We're here for... Oh, yep.
I forgot we didn't even say, like, here's how we, we'll do the intro.
Yeah, this is where Travis does his editing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you intro me, I'll stay quiet.
And we have a special guest with us today.
Hello, my name's Pete. How's it going, citizens?
Welcome, Pete.
Going well.
Yeah.
Pete returns. He was with us for our first look at Conan. So, if you're new to the show, we're here to review a movie from a time when the oceans drank Atlantis and the rise of the sons of Ares. We're here to tell you a tale of high adventure. In this episode, we're going on a journey to find a horn. Patrick, who can help us on this quest?
Find a horn and a jewel.
You're supposed to say Conan the Destroyer.
I don't think he could have helped us. I think the wizard helped us find that his friend with the weird hand gestures. It was like a compass. It kept pointing to where to go. Conan's just there for muscle.
Yeah, sometimes.
And more smooth transitions just like that, up ahead.
It's been a while since we've recorded, actually, so we're working out the kinks. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, you know what? I mean, you guys are right back to it. Clearly, there wasn't any major emergencies that required you to assemble.
Yeah, and, we didn't see the Real Comic Heroes light, in the sky. So.
Right. I have not seen it either. I would attempt to respond if I could.
The city doesn't need us anymore.
Yeah. I mean, well, granted, I've been here like twice, so I'm like the equivalent Hawkeye of this Avenger team. I'm not going to do much, but I'm there.
Nice.
Well, we appreciate it.
Yeah. We always needed support.
Yeah.
We're doing Conan the Destroyer from 1984.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Got a couple taglines.
Hit us with the taglines.
Adventure. All right, here we go. We got 2 for this one. Usually there's like 4 or 5, but I guess they just didn't care that much.
Yeah.
We've got, my opinion, the most generic. It's the most powerful legend of all is back in a new adventure. I say debatable. Then we've got the darkest side of magic, the strongest side of man.
Nice.
That's my favorite.
I dig that one. The darkest side of magic, the strongest side of man.
That's right.
Powerful enough for a woman, but...
Yes, it's a magical deodorant slogan.
Strong enough for a woman, yeah.
Just imagine they paid somebody to come up with these.
Right.
Yeah, the first one's sort of a rehash of just your typical sequel movie slogan. So back and better than ever.
Right, that could fit anything. That could be Wayne's World 2.
Excellent movie.
Yeah.
Excellent movie.
Hey, I'm not shitting on it. I'm just saying that could literally be any sequel at all.
Yeah.
It's not very descriptive.
Wayne's World 2 has my favorite quote of all time.
Okay.
What's that?
Cross the T's and dot the lowercase j's. Because the guy's got a eye that's all pigmented.
The lazy eye.
Oh,
I remember.
That's funny that movie will come back in my notes later on. Wayne's World 2.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not going to tell you how or why, but it'll come back. Don't think on it too hard.
I don't remember Aerosmith showing up.
Yeah, well. Do we want to jump in with our...
act breaks?
We could do act breaks or kind of do what our experience with
the
movie is.
I'll go first because it's easy. I have never seen this movie in my life.
Until now.
Boy. Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Okay. Mine's fairly similar. I'd seen this once before, shortly after I watched the first, Conan the Barbarian. So, and that was probably going back 5 or 6 years by now, maybe longer. And I didn't remember most of this movie, rewatching it for this. So, yeah, I don't have a lot of history with the Destroyer. What about you, Pete?
You know what? I've seen it probably at least a couple dozen times, but all it ever does is catch my eye and then make me watch Conan the Barbarian.
Okay.
I can't say that I ever get too excited for this one. It's always one of those things where it's like, oh, we're watching Conan? Well, which one?
Yeah.
There's a big difference.
Okay, so act breaks.
I looked at it as quest. Basically, it's like your standard get this, defeat this. So I was just thinking it was like get to the floating castle of the magical stone that nobody touches.
Yeah.
And then go into the cave of horns. And then, the end of the movie with the big battle sequence.
Yeah, I basically had once the gang is all assembled, I put, once the gang's all here and they arrive at the lake, that's when, before they set out to actually go after or I guess basically once she gets captured.
Yeah, when they're sleeping in the smoke.
That's about when I had Act 1 ending. And then after they've taken the horn, they're trying to get out of the cave, and Bombada betrays them, caves in the little tunnel, and he takes off with Jenna. And then it's essentially Conan and the rest of them kind of regrouping and figuring out what to do. So I don't know. Where are your act breaks, Pete?
No, actually, I'm almost exactly on the adventure line, as it were.
Okay. With the two quests.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. I mean,
that works.
Those seem like good act breaks to me.
Cool.
Yeah, I didn't realize there was going to be two quests.
I didn't either.
It sounded like it was just a stone.
By the time they got the stone at the first quest, I was like, "Oh shit, this movie's already over." Like, what else do they have to do? And I forgot about the horn, that she had.
Betrayal.
To get, forgot about all that. But so why don't we just jump into Act 1? And Pete, we can let you go first if you want.
This movie's not great. However, it starts off pretty good. It's you come right back into a solid intro. You get great costumes, music. They recaptured the world that we were in Conan the Barbarian. Cheesy as it may have been, like those are some of the things that really stood out for that movie and made it hold up all this time. We come rolling in and it's just immediately Conan with feats of strength. He's punching guys, he's punching horses, he's grabbing dudes trying to throw nets at him, he's throwing dudes off of their horses. Immediately though, you kind of realize that this is run a little cheesier than the previous movie.
Sure.
Not that the previous movie was too serious, but it had a dark tone to it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I never see that in this one. We don't deal with any of the issues we didn't. I mean, the first movie starts out so brutal. We watch his family get killed, and then he's a slave, and then he's a gladiator. Like in this case, he's just hanging out with this guy Malik, who we don't know, and suddenly there's trouble.
Yeah,
and he can punch his way out of it.
Yeah, it's very gladiator-esque.
Yeah,
like as soon as the nets got brought into it, I felt like I was at the Coliseum, just like watching Conan battle for his life.
Sure. I like that once the battle part of it is over, the queen, I like that she respects Conan and praises him for being who he is. Like, she knows that he's a barbarian who has no ruler, and she doesn't try to command him into, you're coming with us, you're going to do what I say. She's very respectful of who he is as a nomadic, wanderer. and knows that she doesn't control him, so I thought that was and obviously she manipulates him a little bit by showing him the vision of Valeria and all that, but
easily so.
Yeah.
He's like, no woman is my queen.
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Yeah. But I also really dig that Conan is still hung up on Valeria. I did not expect there to be a connection to Valeria in this movie. I thought it would just be completely glossed over,
I thought he'd be like proud of her, like being by the side of Crumb or something.
Oh yeah,
like the warrior's death,
not wanting her back. Yeah,
it just seems weird that he'd be all that touchy-feely on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I kind of misremembered. I thought that this was the movie where like her ghost showed up and helped him, but that was all in the previous one.
Oh yeah, okay.
Where she's like the Valkyrie or whatever,
Right,
like you see her with the armor on and everything. For some reason, I thought that happened in this one, and maybe she like kicked Wilt Chamberlain in the face or something. But
Gotcha.
I completely misremembered it. It is good though that they take the time, at least in the opening, to reconnect the tale.
Sure, and then her name keeps coming up throughout the movie. With him talking about she's going to be the queen at his side. I dig that her presence is kind of there, kind of Conan's motivation throughout, Act 1 and 2. But one of my points kind of ties into a little bit of what you said, Pete, about the first act here. It starts off really strong. I think for the entire movie, Act 1 has the best production value. It's the costuming, I think, is really good. Queen Taramis, she's got this corset bustier thing that works really well for me, and she's got this staring at Patrick as I say it, and she's got this headpiece on that reminds me of Mira from Aquaman, and it's kind of has like this finned. I don't know. It's not. I wouldn't call it a crown, but it's something that she wears. It's a headpiece, I guess. But it's very, very much like Mira from Aquaman, and the palace at, I guess it's Shadazar, looks really cool. Just Act 1, you can tell that they've got a budget here that I was not expecting. So I was really impressed by just how good everything looked, because I really just thought, going into this movie, that everything was going to be, I don't know, toned down, less production value. I was surprised that the same guy that did the music from the first one was back. It's Basil Poldoris.
Really?
And yeah. And from our first episode, when we were talking about the music, Pete, I know you'd mentioned that you like to listen to that whole score, like when you're doing like a D&D campaign or whatever. And after we recorded that episode, I went and bought the soundtrack on iTunes, and I love listening to that soundtrack. But then there's this one that, even though it's done by the same guy, I'm not going to go out and get the soundtrack. It's just not as good, or the score. I didn't find it as good, but...
See, I only noticed it when they were traveling.
Yeah.
Traveling music.
Sure. Yeah. And there's every now and then there's little touches of themes from the first movie, especially when you see Valeria on that altar right at the beginning. There's a little touch of her kind of her music, her theme from the first one. So, I thought I agree with Pete. I think this starts off really, really good. So.
Okay. Yeah, I thought the Queen was probably the best actress in this movie by far, or actor. I thought she was the best.
Yeah.
I just believed her character, and it didn't seem as. I don't know if she just had better dialogue 'cause she's the bad guy.
Sure.
Or why it is, but I did. I did think she kind of looked like Evil Lynn from Masters of the Universe.
Definitely, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? She has a headpiece similar.
That's what the headpiece made me think of.
Yeah.
And even the look, like the dark hair, the sort of brooding face. Like, it just made me think of Masters of the Universe, which did come a few years later.
With the genre, yeah. Okay.
I don't know if the cartoon was that, so maybe Conan stole it from the cartoon.
I mean, everything Master of the Universe came from this movie, essentially.
Works.
Yeah, totally.
Or as Travis would say, that really worked for me.
Yeah.
Not in a creepy way. I think my the first thing I had that I really liked was when they were traveling. Once they agreed to go with the Queen on her trip back to the palace or whatever, they're going through the city, and there's this rich guy that's like in a parade with them, and he just starts covering up his jewels as he's going through the marketplace. Like he's in a bad neighborhood. Like it's like his version of locking the door.
That's awesome. Yeah, I noticed that, but I didn't.
It was just weird because it was like, who is that guy?
Well, it's because Conan now has a reputation,
That was my next thing. Is when did he become the king of thieves?
I mean,
he doesn't seem like the most stealthy of human beings.
No.
Well, he's not, but think of what they did in the first movie. Even though he was just splitting everybody's skull open, he was doing it initially because they were just stealing shit.
Yeah.
Like he set Supatites free, and that was how they met Valeria, because they were all breaking into that tower, not to do the right thing, but just to see if there was some shit to steal.
Yeah.
See, that's where I come into the word thief. I think king of plundering, maybe.
Sure.
Or
yeah.
King of
Yeah.
There's nothing subtle about what he's doing.
No.
His friend Malik is like more of a thief to me. Like,
He's one of those.
he's like classic thief class.
Yeah.
Like pickpocket almost.
Yeah.
Like,
well, even his moves, like in the fight sequence, he'd like jump off a rock and then stab a guy in the sides or back with his little knives.
I noticed he had some cool little knife work. Like he keeps his knives at his wrist. I thought that was kind of cool.
And he just goes to town like as soon as he gets an opportunity.
Yeah.
No, I got you. Conan's not going to pick your pocket. He's going to punch you in the face and then take your, sack of gold or whatever.
Yeah, that struck me as odd. I just heard her say that and I was like, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think that's part of the, God, it's been so long. I don't know how much of this we might have talked about in the first one, but I did read some of the actual novels way back in the day when I was a kid. And like that is kind of part of what was always there. For some reason, and I don't know if it's just because it's hard not to take your protagonist and make him into like the everyman where he can kind of pull off anything, but they would always talk about how he'd be the one day king and he's already the barbarian and he's a notable thief as well. Basically everything except a wizard, with the exception of the fact that he's really great at being a barbarian because he's unstoppably strong. But I think that was the other part, I guess, that is tied into it is that everywhere he went, for whatever reason, everybody already knows him.
Yeah.
And they know not to fuck with him for the most part.
Isn't there like a mystical property to his sword? Or am I just making
Not that I know of.
Okay, I thought there was some deal about it.
No, it was the fact that they learned that riddle is steel, so basically like they had like tempered the metal differently, I guess.
Okay.
That was what was such a big deal about that his father's sword that he had in the first one. But the one he's got here is that old king's sword that he found because he ended up breaking his father's sword.
It's like an Atlantean sword.
Yeah, I just assume that it's better quality than everybody else he's fighting.
Yeah,
not necessarily magical, but yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk about the cast because we basically meet, I think, just about everybody here in this first act, and it's not a huge cast, but a lot of the people were very recognizable for later works. Of course, we got Schwarzenegger and Mako return, and Mako actually gets named here. He's Akiro, the wizard.
Yeah.
But then, like, the first character you really see is Tracy Walter, who plays Malik. But instantly I see him, and he's Bob the Goon from Batman 89 for me.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he's one of those character actors that you see in, a lot of other things. I think the last thing I saw him in, he was a bum jerking off in the alley in... It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like, he's one of the guys that like hangs out behind their bar, just
I'm glad you said that, not when I was walking the dog
outside out my house. Yeah. And then of course you got Wilt Chamberlain, who I only remember as a kid because his reputation with the ladies.
Oh well, yeah, Wilt the Stilt, 1,000 lady man or whatever.
It was like 20,000 that he claimed.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. And then Sarah Douglas plays Queen Taramis, and she is Ursa from Superman 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. So I think she, like you said, probably is one of the best actors in this movie.
Definitely.
So I don't know what her background is as far as like training, but she does have that classically trained feeling. Like, it seems natural when you see her as the queen in this one.
Yeah.
And of course you got Grace Jones. And as I was watching her, like, I think we really missed out on an opportunity to see her as Storm in an 80s X-Men movie. Like, if they could have put together a movie, an X-Men movie back then, perfect for Storm. And
yeah, you're right. You're definitely right.
She was one of those people that I vaguely have a memory of seeing parts of this movie as a kid, especially her introduction scene with the her fighting off those people that are trying to. It said she was being tortured. I don't know if they're trying to enslave her or whatever, but I vaguely remember that scene and being very confused about Grace Jones and not having any experience at that point with androgyny. And not knowing, is this a woman? Is this a man? I really didn't know as a kid. She really confused me, Just...
It's funny you say that, because my daughter is like 4.
Yeah.
She thought that was a guy.
Okay.
And she thought Arnold Schwarzenegger was a lady because he had big boobies and long hair.
Nice.
So this movie's throwing all kinds of things at
Sure.
young
Yeah.
children.
Yeah. It's just one of the few memories, of her and this movie specifically that I have from being a kid. And then I want to talk about Olivia d'Abo, who Patrick and I were talking earlier. Like, her face. For some reason, she's just very recognizable. And once you look into her, it's like, oh, she's Kevin Arnold's sister from the Wonder Years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I never would have, guessed that, but she is still active in movies, TV, and voice work now. Like, she has consistently worked from, this was her first role, but she's basically been working ever since.
She was really young in this. She was
Yeah.
like 16 or 18.
Yeah, I've got notes on that later.
48 now.
And it's oddly, she's played the voice for every version of Carol Ferris, aka Star Sapphire, in any DC animated TV show or movie. Like, kind of the girlfriend or sometimes enemy of Green Lantern. Like, she's just showed up in almost every voice cast as, for some reason, that character specifically. Like, I don't know what the connection is there, but
at the studio, they just have her name pinned next to that
I
one.
guess
like,
so.
Call
Yeah,
her first because she'll probably do it.
apparently she must have a fondness for the character. I don't know where that's from. But two more I want to talk about. Pat Roach shows up again. He's everyone's favorite henchman, and here we get him as the wizard Toth Amon, and he also does the man ape. And I thought once I saw the name Pat Roach, I figured he's just going to be one of these big brawling henchmen that Conan's going to fight. I had no idea he was the wizard, and then transforms into the ape man or whatever.
Yeah, I thought it was a Toxic Avenger for a second.
Yeah. He's got that.
I didn't know what that was.
Weird eye on one side.
Well, I just mean the man ape.
Oh, I thought
I didn't
even
know what
as
it
the
was.
even as the wizard, he's got messed up. Yeah,
It's like melted on one side.
Yeah. Lastly, I want to talk about Jeff Corey, and for this show, Jeff Corey, he's got a little place in my heart. He plays the Grand Vizier who sacrifices Jenna at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But for us, he is Luke Benson from Episode 1, Superman and the Mole Men.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
He's
the crazy.
Luke Benson.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know this is shocking, guys, but I've never seen Superman and the Mole Men.
Okay. Well, I mean, we had fun with it, I think.
That
I mean,
was our very first.
that was our first episode. Yeah. That was one of our commentary episodes. So.
Wow.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I remember seeing it up there, but I all in my head, I was just like, oh my God, I couldn't even do this.
Yeah.
But I understand you had to start where you had to start.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my long point about just the cast in general, and again, not a big cast, but I think
Memorable
yeah, I think so.
and important.
Yeah. So
Except for the guy that is in the alley doing his business.
yeah. Bob the Goon.
Well, I can't say her name right, but Olivia d'Abo was actually at a con probably about 10 years ago here in St. Louis. And although it wasn't a big deal, she was over at that side table, and in my head, I was like, wait a minute, who's that over there? But honestly, as soon as I saw her, I instantly recognized her, and I thought of this movie before I thought of the Wonder Years.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, even, and this would have probably been like I don't know, maybe more like 15 years ago now that I think about it. I don't know. It's been a minute. But I mean, I also met the Beastmaster at one of those. So,
Nice.
it's one of those local cons where like they don't have any superstars there.
Sure.
It's just people like, oh, me? Yeah, I was in Conan the Destroyer.
Yeah.
But hey, she wants to come make a couple $1,000s at a con. So be it. I ain't shitting on her for it.
Yeah.
But as far as relevance goes, that's the only member of the cast I believe that I have met or at least seen, I guess.
Yeah.
More than us.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I had a feeling throughout this movie when it almost felt like I was watching a really boring role-playing video game. Like, he'd go and collect people and talk to people and then collect objects.
Yeah.
But, like, when he met up with the wizard that was getting barbecued, Conan just says, I need you. And then he goes, I'm yours.
Yeah.
I was like, there's something to this relationship I'm not aware of.
Yeah.
And it was just so, I don't know. It was like everyone was just so willing to go with Conan, and everybody knew him, and it's just... Again, it makes for a poor thief when everybody knows you. He's like the James Bond of thieves. Yeah.
But you got to think he's probably more like a celebrity, because it's not like
weird.
There's,
I don't get it. It's just weird.
I mean, he's the guy that cut the head off of Thulsa Doom,
I guess.
That's got to have some like
so
street
how does
cred.
Everybody know that?
Yeah, I mean, word of mouth. That's why in this like
was anybody
age,
left alive? I can't even remember.
Yeah, all those all of his followers all basically ran away. Yeah. So you got a lot of people actually.
That's true. They can really vouch for it
and spreading the word of Conan. Some good, some bad, probably.
Well, no, you could just the story alone of no, we crucified that guy on a tree and left him in the desert.
That's a good
that
point.
Motherfucker came back.
Yeah,
and killed our leader. Don't mess with him.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So we're basically saying Conan is Jesus.
In the first movie, he basically was.
Jesus came back and cut the head off of his enemy and held it up for everyone to see.
That's a Bible I could get behind.
Yeah.
Intrigue,
nice.
Adventure.
Yeah, high fantasy.
Now I want to see Arnold Schwarzenegger play Jesus, but only 80s version. I don't want to see him do it now.
Yeah.
I don't know what time is done to his body. I do not want to know.
Well, and I'm not super religious, but the entire movie is just going to focus on that one scene where Jesus trashed the moneylenders. Like, that'll really be the big deal. And it'll just be Schwarzenegger just kicking tables around.
Nice.
All right, now that we got blasphemy out of the way.
Yeah. It's perfect for Act 1. Let's see. So what else we got for Act 1?
I mean, you got the smoke bird.
Yeah. Which I didn't realize was the wizard. I thought he just created something, but it is actually him, I guess.
Yeah, there's that weird cheesy effect of him walking out into the
animation.
Mist although, maybe this is just me and it says more about me than anything, but I'm pretty sure one-eyed wizard is a euphemism for your junk.
I wrote down his whispering eye because it's that. It's like one eye is like burned over, it's closed or whatever, but
yeah. I was just like, one-eyed wizard. I'm pretty sure that's like either a pop punk band name or that's what you call your penis.
I like it.
Or that's something terrible you say at the bar.
Yeah.
You want to come to the tower and meet my one-eyed wizard?
Exactly. Okay, I'm glad we're all on the same page here.
Yep. Nice.
The maturity level on this podcast is through the roof.
Yeah. But you've got a point. I mean, even the dialogue of this one, there's some major differences here. And I was, looking at like the Wikipedia page just for like, I guess the hard stats. But we've got a different director, different writers, no Oliver Stone. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if this was more one of those movies where like that beginning sequence was possibly even shot and then shopped around while they cast the rest of the movie. It's tough to say.
Yeah, that could be. I know.
Yeah, sorry, I was getting us off topic there. But
no.
I'm thinking that level of dialogue and stuff like wouldn't have made it into the first one. It was too dark.
Well, and Schwarzenegger, he wanted to make another dark, R-rated, serious Conan to follow up the Barbarian, and producers, they wanted more family friendly, not family friendly, but they wanted a lighter tone. They wanted less violence. Couple more jokes or a little bit more humor.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Like even in Act 1 we've got the throwback to the camel. Like I wrote down there's camel shenanigans in this movie with this like the callback to the one he punched, like he says, sorry about that time I hit you or something like that, and then hits it again.
Although that was his best acting when he looked pissed off. And I'm wondering if they weren't supposed to hit him with that white slobber stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because he genuinely looked aggravated.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give it this. As far as just the numbers I'd looked at, it made $100 million.
It did. It did a little bit better. Let me think. It didn't do as good over here, but it did better worldwide than the first one I've got.
Well, it looks like they spent about $50 on the movie. So
see, I disagree. I feel like it looks like they spent as much because I think the sets are, like I said, I think the sets are really good. The costuming, I think, is good. Conan looks great. I think even his wardrobe looks better. the couple times that he's actually wearing clothes. They even said that one complaint about the first movie was that Arnold Schwarzenegger's body was too clothed. It says for the sequel, I made sure that Arnold was undressed 99% of the time.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I don't feel like he really wore a shirt that much in the first one. He put some armor on here and there.
Yeah.
That's Act 2?
I think so. I wanted to briefly mention that this movie was actually... The story for this movie was written by Jerry Conway and Roy Thomas. As a comic book reader, those names are very familiar. Jerry Conway began scripting Amazing Spider-Man at age 19 and actually took over writing from Stan Lee.
Holy fuck!
He wrote the Death of Gwen Stacy storyline. That was all him.
Oh, wow!
He co-created The Punisher, Firestorm, Killer Croc, Jason Todd for DC Comics, The Jackal and Man-Thing for Marvel. And then you got Then you got Roy Thomas, who did a long run on Uncanny X-Men and the Avengers. And then he's the one that actually introduced Conan the Barbarian to Marvel Comics in the 70s. So he probably then is responsible for them, of Conan being in the pop culture at the time in the 70s, which would have led to them wanting to make the movie, The Barbarian, in the first place, probably. So.
Yeah, they were selling books and comics already. Why not?
Yeah. Roy Thomas co-created the Ghost Rider, not the original cowboy western version, but the modern, like the one everyone thinks of, the motorcycle guy with a flaming skull head. Iron Fist, Morbius, the living vampire, and Ultron. So, it's got a decent pedigree as far as the people. Right, and they didn't write the screenplay for the movie, but they wrote the original story, and then it was adapted by a guy named Stanley Mann, and they said that later on, Jerry Conway and Roy Thomas said that they didn't like what this guy then took and wrote for the rest of the movie, and then years later, like in the 90s, they wrote a new Conan story for Marvel or. Some other comic, but
I was gonna say this is a pretty uninspired, writing an adventure story 101 kind of screenplay.
Yeah,
and the heroes get together, and the princess is kidnapped, and they go get her.
There's a virgin.
Yeah,
right. Wizards do wizard battle. No, I could see that, and that's an impressive list of all the stuff that guy did.
Yeah. Let's move on to Act 2 unless anyone else has Act 1 stuff.
I'm gonna title this Convenient Boat.
Okay.
I don't understand why that boat is there. At first, I thought it was a trap. I was like, don't get in a random boat that's just sitting there in a lake with a floating castle.
Oh, I guarantee it's a trap. It's there meant to tempt any travelers who happen upon this lake and see this castle out in, So I would almost bet that the wizard leaves the boat there, or conjures this boat, to lure people in, because you see this magical castle.
And then they're just stuck in the underground unless there's a wizard with pointy fingers that knows there's an entrance under the water.
You trap people. It's like a spider web.
And then they can get right back out. I mean, granted, it does look like a Disney ride once they're in the cave under the castle. Like it's a Small World or something, but I was like, don't you get in that boat, Conan.
Right.
Don't you do it. And they got a wizard with them.
Yeah. Well, and that's what
Couldn't he turn into like a smoky hawk and carry them over? Or is he not as good? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm picturing now is that on the other side of the lake, there's another boat or 2 or 3 more out there. He's just trying to get everybody to come to his evil castle.
Yeah.
Because is he evil?
Well, he worships a dark god, so I mean, he's got his own agenda, I suppose. But I'm going to go with yes.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the general evilness.
Protecting it from getting used in this ritual.
I feel like he wanted to use. Maybe he was going to use. I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point because we don't really know what his agenda was versus the other group.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Join up with the Horn group and then bring the god back. Why are they keeping things separate?
I feel like maybe he was going to do that on his own. That's what I assumed. I assumed that he wanted to keep that artifact because he could use it for whatever power. And So maybe he didn't worship Dagoth then.
Well, and as soon as they get the stone from this castle, everything starts crumbling. So it could be the source of his power.
Because he was dead.
Yeah, maybe.
Because then they say it was an illusion. I don't know. I thought it was.
I don't remember.
Maybe it's a combo. I don't know.
Yeah. That's a good point. This wizard could actually
the whole
be
time I thought he was good.
a good guy. Yeah, I hadn't considered
He was
that.
trying to keep him from stealing the stuff.
That's true. Because it's not like he's coming out and trying to...
Yeah, he's just sitting in the lake at his lake house, minding his own damn
Well,
business.
hang on a second, though, as I play prosecution on the trial against the wizard. He did steal the girl.
But he says, don't bring her here, Conan. And so maybe he knows, like...
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
you
But then
know.
you'd think he'd sink his magical
That's
boat
true.
trap, too.
Yeah.
So he was going to then keep the girl and the jewel there safe in his evil...
Could be, yeah.
Either that, or if he is truly the bad guy, then have her take the jewel to the Horn group, meet up, have an evil powwow, and talk to the queen, and stick it on a statue.
Right, maybe.
I think,
Man, you're never going to believe who got in the boat today. Check this out.
It's just the one we've been
'cause
waiting on.
The only reason he hasn't done anything is because he can't touch the damn thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how it got there in the first place.
It's like
in
the
his
Sorcerer's Stone
magical
in the...
castle, so it's a... Yeah. Like I said, this movie wasn't written that great,
Yeah.
so I'm not going to read that far into it.
Yeah.
No, they had some good initial ideas, but I mean, I can see now too about how those guys wrote a good storyline, and they were like, all right, here's these different characters we developed, but then this dialogue comes about, and they're just kind of rushed through from scene to scene, especially in the beginning. You're right. I mean, they meet all these characters, and then they're all just instantly basically friends within, 15 minutes, probably?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They're on the quest. Now, you don't always have to go Lord of the Rings. It doesn't have to take you, 90 minutes to get all the protagonists together, but you could spend a little time introing these people. I mean, Wilt Chamberlain literally has no dialogue for like the first hour of the movie.
Yeah.
He says almost nothing. He's just standing there looking confused, like, oh, should have been a movie.
Yeah.
Now, this wasn't his first movie, though, right? Wasn't he in a Bruce Lee movie?
No, that's what I thought,
Yeah,
too.
That's, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
kept thinking
Okay.
that was
tall,
his...
former basketball Laker. Or,
Yeah.
I don't know if he was a Laker, but former 70s basketball icon.
Oh, yeah, I don't know the team. I just remember dudes who are 7 feet tall,
Yeah.
That's what I spent most of the movie doing, trying to see how they were going to hide his height.
There's a couple shots of him and Arnold, like, basically next to each other, and Arnold looks dwarfed by... I had no clue how big...
That's why he's Wilt the stilt.
Wilt, yeah.
He was wearing stilts.
I had no idea. I read that they had to import a horse from Spain that that was large enough for him to ride, because every other horse, he's on the horse's back and his feet are still touching the ground.
Yep.
So,
Right.
that's,
Jesus.
yeah. So I want to talk about Olivia Diabo's character, Jenna, Princess Jenna, and just a little background on the actress Olivia. She's born in 1969. Which at the time of filming makes her 14 or 15. And I'm...
Gross.
Yes, I'm incredibly uncomfortable with the provocative outfits and situations that they put her in throughout this entire movie. Like, you're introduced to her and she's, barely wearing anything. They go through the movie and she's talking about wanting to be with Conan and trying to find out how to get a man and all this stuff. And it reminded me a lot of the BB character from For Your Eyes Only, the underage ice skater.
Oh, yeah.
But at least with her, she was played by like a 23-year-old woman who, is an adult and can portray this underage character. But here you've got an actual teenager playing this teenager and putting him in very just creepy situations. And I don't know why, when you're writing the story, why make her so young?
Well, I mean, to be fair, it was a different time. 14 is like an old maid.
I guess.
But yeah,
I mean,
it could have been a lot worse. I'll put it that way.
It could have been.
She
And
doesn't actually get like close with him or anything.
true. And I thought they were setting up, at the beginning before they set on the quest, they talk about she must remain a virgin for this whole sacrifice the whole evil plan to work. She needs to remain a virgin.
Bombada or whatever his job to keep her a virgin.
And so the first act, then I was worried that they were setting that up for her and Conan to hook up. And I thought, oh no, he's gonna try to hook up with her. I was really glad that Conan has no intentions whatsoever with her, so that was nice. But I think there is a way to use a character's virginity in the plot. You know, they use it in Live and Let Die with Solitaire.
Yeah.
She's a virgin and then she can do the tarot card reading. She can kind of see the future, that kind of stuff. And it works with the story. And then once she hooks up with Bond, then that power is gone and then she's useless to Kananga.
Yeah, all she's got now is herpes.
Yeah. So it can work with the story. But again, I just don't know why you make this character so young, I guess.
I honestly had no idea she was that young when they shot it either. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You're right. That is kind of creepy.
Yeah, I assumed that the actress was 18 or 19 playing this younger character, but no, she's 14 or 15, you know. Still it's just overall ew.
She looks old for 14 or 15 though.
Sure.
Like I was thinking like 17.
Yeah, I figured 18, 19, you know. But yeah. Yeah.
Well, and you know what? In like a traditional Conan story, you know, I'm sure they would have made her of age because there's almost no way, just like a James Bond story, for you to go through it without hooking up with Conan.
Right.
Which I guess would have ruined the whole plot because then they would have been like, no, actually that barbarian guy, the one we all think is a thief, he banged her. Now what?
Yeah.
What do we do now?
Yeah.
Well, I guess what protected her virginity, aside from Wilt Chamberlain, was also the ghost of what's her face?
Valeria.
Noble Valeria. Yeah.
Well, Conan's just a good dude, you know.
Conan's a good dude.
I mean,
he's a destroyer.
She was throwing herself at him at one point, and he's like, "Well, the queen by my side will be Valeria," you know. So not even like picking up on
at the end too.
Yeah. So, what do you guys got for Act 2?
Oh man, I had to make a note of how there's so many pro wrestlers in this movie.
Okay.
Like even the Pat Roach guy apparently was a pro wrestler. I just learned that last night when I looked him up. But like the entire battle that Conan has with like the red cloaked monster is literally just like he gets body slammed like right off the bat. You're just like, all right, you got a sword. Nope. Okay, we're just gonna go as cheesy as possible. Like I guess it works for movies, but like it seems so silly. Like just stab him already.
Well, again, they've got to tone down the violence because they wanted more of a general audience kind of feel for this movie. So
that, and it's another video game sequence where you got to break the mirror to defeat the boss.
Yeah,
boss fight.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was pretty I kind of liked it, where he'd break one mirror, and it would slash somewhere on his body. And
I was just overall impressed that I never see the camera. And with all the mirrors that they smash in that sequence, I never saw the camera. So I was impressed just from a production standpoint that they were able to pull off all those shots, without a lot of mistakes.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I still can't believe that the ape and the wizard are the same guy.
Yeah, I didn't know that necessarily at the beginning either, but yeah, apparently they were both acted by Pat Roach.
Yeah, I just assumed he cast some spell on himself of like, all right, here comes the barbarian. I'm gonna shapeshift into this whatever and wrestle him.
Like
body slam, take him out.
Yeah, it's kind of like Mum-Ra from Thundercats. He is the old wizard, but he's also the
because he ends up just being a conjured thing because he's a pile of glass at the end.
Yeah,
and
that's a good point.
If a monster comes out of a mirror, the first thing I'm doing is breaking all the mirrors. If nothing else, to keep more monsters from coming out. Sure.
Maybe that is confusing then that they chose to use the same actor, or maybe we're supposed to think like he used his own blood conjuring this creature or something, and it's got a little of his DNA in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, you wouldn't know it unless you looked at IMDb.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, right. It's not obvious. It's not apparent.
Because he's got a very realistic man ape.
Sure does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that weird tongue thing he was doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
It weirded me out.
Yeah.
Oh well, I don't know. You were saying, Pete?
Oh, I was gonna say, so that wasn't a real man ape? I assumed they just trained one and brought it on the set to wrestle Arnold.
Yeah, they had like a fly experiment gone horribly wrong.
Yeah.
It's part of the budget of this movie, man.
Yeah.
They spent some real money here.
Yeah. This is definitely the area of the movie where it does look the worst, I would say. The man ape, even just the room of mirrors before they're mirrors and it's just curtains and stuff.
Anytime
It looks real cheap.
Like rocks, I think it looks fake.
Yeah.
The horse's armor kind of looks fake.
I never noticed that.
It's plasticky almost.
Oh, okay.
Like you can tell they're adding Foley work, like a little over the top with it.
Yeah. One of my notes later on was about the sound in this movie. The sound design, it's not great. There's a lot of swooshing of swords, the when he's moving it.
That's what swords do, Travis. Come on.
Yeah.
If we're gonna nitpick like that, then
but I mean, it's like
punching noises have to be taken.
But
out.
even like the noises that this ape man makes were very filmation, animation, Master of the Universe. Like the noises that monsters make, and the lightning sounds were just cut and paste from those cartoons. Definitely one of my other cons for this movie is, unfortunately, the ensemble cast. Like, I know I talked about the cast itself and that I think they got good people, but I think there's too many characters in this group that take away from Conan. You've got Bombarda, who just diminishes the awesome strength of Conan because I don't want to see Conan needing help from Bombarda with feats of strength. A couple times, like lifting a door or opening a passageway, he needs his help. It's like I don't want to see that. I want Conan to be the muscle guy. I think that protector warrior role of Bombarda could have been combined with Zula, the Grace Jones character. Mm-hmm. Like make her the princess's protector. And plus, I'd take more Grace Jones in this movie, over Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah.
And then you've got
producer call, I'm guessing, just having somebody famous.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. You've got Mako and Akiro, the wizard. It seems like he can do things now that he couldn't do in the previous movie, or that I wouldn't have expected that character, because he seemed more like a natural wizard using I wouldn't call him like a sorcerer the way that this wizard that that lives in this castle. But like suddenly he can use sights beyond sight, to see the underwater path to get through this, to get underneath the castle, and just other situations that it's like, oh, he can do that because he's a wizard. It just seems like they were making
lazy writing.
Yeah, and then you got Malik, who is no Subutai. I really wish Subutai had been in this movie because he was. I really dug him from the first movie.
Yeah, Malik was just the weasel.
Yeah, I guess they initially wanted the guy that plays Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley. That was who they cast and who started filming the movie. But apparently he had like health issues and had to leave the movie, and so they got Tracy Walter. But he kind of fills that role of just bumbling comic relief and all that. But he's just a little too annoying to be.
I'm with you. One of my next notes actually says, "Where the hell is Subutai?
Yeah.
Why would that dude ever leave Conan's side after what they did?"
So I think that they should have just toned down maybe the amount of people on this quest, because like in the Barbarian, you've got Conan, Subutai, and Valeria, and they make a good, really balanced trio. And then at times you've still got Akiro, who helps him out towards the end of that movie, but. Yeah, I think they just tried getting too many people, and then you've got the princess herself, who's there.
She's basically an object.
Yeah. I do like though that the princess is the one who can lead them to where they're going. Like she's the only one that really knows where to go, and that's kind of a cool element. But I just think the cast gets a little too inflated, or just too. Like I said,
that's the right word.
They take away from Conan.
Yeah, it's definitely too many people. Just to jump back 1 second where you were at when you were talking about Akiro, there was a difference in this movie in the fact that like the first movie, all of his magic was really subtle.
Yeah.
Like he didn't ever just wave his hands around and open and close doors.
Right.
Like, instead now granted he helped them bring Conan back to life, so
Sure.
we assumed he knew some powerful magic, but
Like he almost seems more like a natural, like using almost like a healer than a wizard.
yeah, like some kind of a shaman or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you, but I'm not sure why they chose to do it differently in this one. But they did use him as that plot device of just like, all right, and then wizard cause magic.
Yeah. Well, Conan hands him a torch, and he just snaps his fingers, and there's flame, and it's like, well, it's cool. I mean, Gandalf can do that, but
Sure.
But I wouldn't expect this guy to do that.
No,
based
it really
on
throws
the first
off the
movie.
tone.
He took some courses. He wanted to better himself.
I guess
Jeez,
so.
guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Took some correspondence classes.
Yeah.
I think this is the silliest act in the movie.
Definitely.
Based on two scenes in particular. The awkward sexual education course that takes place in the caravan of horses.
Yeah.
Where they're trying to explain how to get a man and truly be with him or something. And
that added to the uncomfortableness.
Yeah, now that I know she's 14, I'm really creeped out. And then the drunk Conan, which absolutely made no sense because it immediately occurs right after Bombado was trying to kill him. And it's like, why would you make yourself drunk? Like, I thought he was going to get attacked.
I thought they were poisoning. I thought Bombado was poisoning him.
Because Bombado kept looking at him.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, okay, is he going to make his move now?
Yeah.
Like, it was just a weird... Like, it made no sense whatsoever.
Right. I like drunk Conan.
Jeez.
But, I mean, just because the way Arnold's playing him,
Yeah.
But no, it doesn't make sense that Conan would let his guard down that
Especially
way.
if they're not done with the quest.
Right, yeah.
That's part of what made me think we were
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
I was like, all right, everyone's
He's already, Maybe that's just how he spends every night. Like, once they bed down for the night, he's just going to get drunk until he falls asleep, Maybe that's just the way he operates.
I didn't have much more about
I'm
Act Two.
basically done with Act 2 as well. I feel like there's a lot to talk about with the getting the horn and the but there wasn't really much there noteworthy for me that I found. But
I mean, if we want, we can talk about the cave, horn layer, whatever. Yeah, there really isn't that much. It was kind of.
They go in, they open a door, they get the horn.
She walks through fire,
which looked cool.
Cool.
I thought I was impressed with the layering, making that effect. But
and then it turns into Goonies because
they're
trapped in a cave, and Conan and the rest of the Goonies have to get by.
Yeah, some people show up, which I thought poor choice of actors to represent the leader of this underground cave people, because he just looks like the Grand Vizier of Queen Taramis. They look very similar. So I thought it was the same guy.
I know these guys are bad guys.
I don't think so. They're protectors.
No, they actually worship and want to bring back the god.
But I thought they were trying to stop them from taking the horn.
Because remember, Kiro was telling, like, don't you realize?
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
So,
the writings on the wall.
Yeah.
But they're not like actively seeking out, trying to bring
now
about
that
this whole thing.
Jewel is out. They're all gung ho.
Okay.
Because they expected the princess
To show
all
up to
that.
get the horn.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
So I knew they were bad, which is what makes me think that the wizard wasn't.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But because you think
I think we might have misjudged the wizard earlier on. Yeah.
Yeah, because he should have just taken her, made her grab the stone, and then taken her to the horn if he was really trying to resurrect the god of whatever horns.
You know what? He could have used one good piece of dialogue then. Just like maybe instead of being glass, they throw back the curtain or the cape or whatever, and it's him there going, "No, you fools! Don't you understand?"
Yeah.
Like just a little, I don't know, a little dialogue just to maybe to push us along. I mean, that's the real problem here too. Is we've spent the beginning of this movie just meeting all these characters who were basically empty versions of those, RPG roles. Like here's the fighter, here's the wizard, here's the thief. Like,
and I thought he was putting some kind of curse on it when he killed himself by touching the stone. Like I thought he was doing something, but it was nothing. It was just he didn't want to die slowly, I guess.
yeah, I don't know.
Like that whole sequence, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you guys are convincing me now that maybe I misjudged this wizard as well.
I think so. I think I might rewrite my most heroic for later on, but
it goes to the wizard who, for all we know, held onto this thing for hundreds
might
of years
be,
and kept the land
yeah.
at peace.
yeah.
That's how I read it. And he was my hero, so you can't take him away from me. This was Conan and the One-Eyed Wizard.
Yeah. So are we in Act 3 now?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see.
Before we do that,
Yeah.
I did really like the horn chamber with the dead soldiers like around.
Okay. Yeah.
Like their skeletons facing like out of the crypt or whatever. I thought that was kind of cool looking, like visually.
Right on.
So I'll give them some credit in there.
Yeah. I thought
most of it looked like styrofoam blocks.
Yeah. But again, for the most part, the underground, that temple or whatever, I thought looked decent.
Yeah.
It's kind of getting back to the production value, looking pretty good.
Okay, I lied. One more thing. Any reason why? Like, I assumed Bombada would have made the horses run away, but he left them there for Conan and his group.
Yeah, just convenient.
Like, I just kept waiting to see him, go ha and knock the horses on the butt. And
well, he's not revealing to Jenna that.
Yeah, but she takes off before he does. Like, that's when I thought he was going to do it. Like, she gets moving on the horse, and then he goes back and walks. And I don't know.
I assumed he didn't want to raise her suspicions in any way that I'm taking you, this guy that's been your Conan this entire time. Like, he doesn't want to show her that he's setting them up to die. Because really, she just gets in front of him in the cave just to get out, and then he starts to bash in the ceiling.
So he can bash in a cave, but he can't knock a horse.
But she doesn't see that. Yeah,
she can't be that far from him.
That's true. Yeah.
You just want him to so he lets her go and then what? Just kills the horses? I mean,
that's what I would have expected. But yeah, that's what made me start to think like he can't raise that flag of
He's already swung his sword or his mace.
Yeah.
Bird beak weapon.
Yeah.
Whatever at him. So
yeah.
I don't know. If I was her, my suspicion would be raised already.
Sure. But he covers it with, I thought you were trying to harm the girl.
Yeah,
he's got to make something up because he didn't expect Conan to win that fight.
That was so weak.
And that I actually wondered how you felt about in the first movie. You didn't think that there was enough sword play, like enough actual sword on sword fighting.
Yeah,
I figured this movie would be a little bit better because you start the movie with some sword stuff, and then
we start the movie with net pulling.
Yeah. But then there's that scene with Conan fighting this guy that when the Queen's guys finally catch up to him. That
it's got
a lot of sword fighting there.
Plus the later battle in Act 3 with Bombada. So
I just wondered if you had like a better feeling from the sword play in this one.
It was all right.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't know. I was over it by the time we got to Act 3.
Yeah.
I was just like,
fair enough, yeah.
Let's ruin this party and move on.
Yeah, okay. So my first point in Act 3 is that I'm surprised by Bombada's continued betrayal throughout the movie. Like, I really expected him to have that Darth Vader-like change of conscience at the end and try to stop the Queen from sacrificing Jenna, because I just thought he was more in it to protect Jenna than he was the Queen's servant. I really just was waiting for him to have a change of heart and then not let the Queen try to sacrifice her. So so seeing him die at Conan's hand, it was actually a nice surprise because it totally caught me by surprise. Like, I expected him to change sides because we know going in that he is really working for the Queen. For some reason, I thought he was just the princess's protector from, when she was born. Like,
Oh, I got you.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, more connected to her than he is connected to the Queen. So
yeah, I think his cold wooden acting portrayed it as an uncaring.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you're not really getting much from him
so
in this movie.
I never got this warm fuzzy feeling between the two.
Yeah, I guess I'm just thinking of that typical role.
It might have been if there was a better actor.
Yeah,
But no way did I feel anything between the two.
I mean, like, so it was cool seeing him and Conan start fighting in the palace later on, but I did not expect Conan to actually kill him, because I thought they were going to scrap for a while and then find out that they're both trying to really protect the princess. But
that leads me back to my video game.
yeah,
I was like, take the legs. Take the legs.
yeah,
Chop them down to size. And well, that's what he did.
yeah,
No, and you know what? You're right on the money on that one too. It would have been more interesting if he could have actually developed the character some. Now, maybe that's not his fault. Maybe he's just not that good at acting, and they were like, "We're not giving him any dialogue at all. We're just he's just gonna be there, just stand there, look intimidating, look mad, stand in front of the girl." But you know, it would have made a lot of sense for him in the end to be like, "No, wait, I've always protected her. I can't let this happen." And
that's what I was expecting.
Screw the prophecy or whatever, and maybe they would kill him. Like that would have would have been high tension too.
Yeah.
Sure, they kill him, and then right when the heroes show up.
So, do we know what that drink was about? Was that to like dull her senses or something?
That's what I'm guessing. Make her a little more compliant, because once they start the sacrifice process, like there's a knife to her throat, and she's not even reacting. So I'm guessing
like
that
a
was
kind of thing.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah,
I didn't know if that was her trying to kill her or not, and then they didn't show her really drinking it. So okay.
That's because she's 14.
Yeah. One cup of wine and she's hammered.
Conan the Destroyer.
Oh, cool knife. No big deal.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, because she was kind of comatose during the whole ritual.
Yeah.
Look up and let me slit your throat scene. What would you guys think of the palace ritual area? Like as far as set?
I think the sets are great.
I think that's
in this
one of the
palace,
few that shine.
Yeah, it completely works for me.
Okay, now Pete, I'm going to need your expert opinion on this.
No, I mean, I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. In fact, you can tell that's really where they spent a lot of the money, is building these sets. I mean, I'm sure that they had at least somebody being consulted from, I don't know, either the comic side or something else, helping them really try to put some of these, the background together. Now, what the actors chose to do with the set and the process is kind of where it falls apart. Now, don't get me wrong. There is some points where you can definitely tell there's like, pieces of styrofoam and stuff like that. Like when Conan, or I guess at the end of the last act or whatever, when they're leaving and he's like crawling through the cave-in area, and you can tell that they're like, they're bouncing off of him,
Oh, yeah.
He's not reacting to it at all. Like, well, that looks like a 10-pound boulder. If that hit me in the leg, I think I might, ow, I might wince. But he's just swimming through styrofoam, basically. But no, I thought this place looked good. I even liked the Wizard's Castle too. Not to drag us back too far, but I don't think the sets ever are the problem here. And you never see a boom mic or anything like that either. So the production's there too.
Okay, it's the same. The production designer here is Pier Luigi Basile. I'm guessing Italian. Looks like a lot of Italian movies that he worked on. Did the art design for Conan the Barbarian. Some other movies, Cole the Conqueror. And then quite a jump, and then he does Black Hawk Down and Cold Mountain from like the early 2000s.
Wow, whoa,
and
okay.
He was the art director on Dune from 84, same year. So.
What a busy year for that guy.
Yeah.
Did you like I like the effect of the statue moving.
Okay.
I didn't know if that was a person or
what
that was, but it looked really good.
That first frame where it first starts moving. Yes. I was surprised that it did look like a statue and it starts moving. So I was, because it didn't look like because it didn't look like a person sitting in that pose that had an actual human being inside a suit.
I assume stop motion maybe.
Maybe really that's how they did it. Yeah. And then it transitions to once the face starts to kind of morph in the early stages. Then you can definitely tell it's someone in a suit with a mask on or whatever. And then, of course, it transitions to...
Were you guys expecting the baby kaiju? It reminded me of like Pacific Rim.
Okay.
Like one of those monsters.
The weird shaped head. I dig that it didn't have like a chin.
Hands and stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the hell happened.
I kind of dug the head design, and suddenly,
like batshit crazy.
Yeah, it's like it took this John Carpenter's The Thing turn, and had like just weird anatomy that you didn't like. Its mouth was really tiny and opened like side to side instead of
it's like a vertical slit.
Yeah.
Like, so, let's not look into that.
Well, it's tied into the creature's origin, which I don't know. I'm not an expert on all of it, but I know that Dagoth, at least in the way it's represented in Conan and even in Marvel, like Doctor Strange has done battle with him, and he's a demon. But in my head, I always think of the H.P. Lovecraft side of things, where it's like the old Eldritch horror, like Call of Cthulhu kind of stuff, where he was one of those dreamer, sea-based, into the world kind of creatures, which is the way they kind of present it in this too, that like this thing is going to take over. We don't really ever see it speak or anything, but I think it's presumed that he's visiting his followers maybe through dreams or something. Like they have a pretty good idea of what they need to do to get him to wake up. We're not sure how, but I assume all that too. It felt like the way that they kind of did this, again, it was rushed and not very well explained, but was kind of like an H.P. Lovecraft thing, which what I'm thinking of is actually Dagon, but I mean, it's close enough that I can't help it. That's the kind of thing that they were going for, especially if this is like, this Marvel-based creature that's fighting Doctor Strange as well and things like that,
Yeah. I thought it was, I found this out, like I completely missed it in the movie itself, but reading later on that because Bombada and the Vizier were essentially killed in place of the princess, they were impure sacrifices, which is what led to Dagoth being this distorted, monster instead of a beautiful god that he was supposed to be. So it was just, it was...
Yeah, that's what I figured, because it happened as soon as the spear went through.
Yeah.
And the whole virginity thing made me think, I'm guessing the old guy wasn't a virgin.
Right, right. Yeah.
Even though he's a wizard of some sort.
Yeah. I'm sure it's completely intentional that the source of Dagoth's power is this very phallic horn symbol that's delivered from this, virgin. So I'm sure it's that was part of their
I did not even think about that.
Really? Yeah.
The whole time I was like, pull the horn, Conan.
That's
what he said.
Yeah. Well, that's what I started thinking about. Like once they started telling him that the horn is his source of power and to remove the horn, I thought, oh, okay, so it's
castrate him.
Yeah. Take away his power.
It was done though.
Yeah. I thought the effects of it were. Yeah, I thought it was. Looked pretty cool.
Gross.
Yeah.
Now, do you think though that let's assume that they had killed the girl and he showed up and he was angelic, but again had this weird unicorn horn on his head. I feel like he still would have been evil though.
Yeah, I definitely
like he was going to take over the planet, but he wasn't going to be a fish man or whatever it was that he came out as.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like he would have been more sentient. Like I believe somebody said, if we screw this up, we'll pay for it. And she does with getting rammed with the horn. Right?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Because that's the first thing it does, basically. It kills the queen.
And thinking of it as a phallic symbol, that's really interesting. But yeah, he skewers her real quick. Mm-hmm. It was kind of weird. It all wrapped up really quick.
Yeah, because Zula spears the Vizier. That's what kicks off that whole transformation. And then it kills the queen. And then
Conan kills it. Smash cut. Star Wars ending.
Yeah. That's funny that I had the same thing of the throne room ending. Yeah.
And the band of misfits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had like other notes throughout the movie of just similar, just the traveling and picking up friends along the way seemed very Wizard of Oz. And I'm sure it's not like that's an original idea of just companions being added to the group. A lot of the filming in that second act with the wizard in his castle felt like the movie Excalibur, and even the wizard himself looks a lot like Merlin, just with like the skull cap thing that he was wearing, and then the queen herself looks a lot like Morgana Le Fay or whatever Morgana. So just visually inspired, I thought, by some of those references.
I think it's just anyone with dark black, long hair and pale complexion and a weird cap of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a very distinct go-to evil lady look.
Yeah.
It's like the witch in Snow White has a similar look.
Okay, yeah.
There's a lot of examples of that kind of raven-haired evil temptress.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the end with the chamber room?
Sure.
Did I didn't quite understand why Malik was all about being the fool.
Yeah, that felt a little...
That, and I'm still waiting for him to go to the bathroom, because he's got a lot of jewels in his mouth.
Yeah.
Like, he swallowed jewels left and right throughout this movie.
I wondered about that, too, yeah. Just all the
It's
jewels.
gonna be a rough...
Yeah.
Maybe he's got like a special meal planned or something at the end of all of it. I kind of wondered that too. Like, what's the end game here, man? You can't just put these in your pocket. Who's patting you down? Like, you're with Conan, or is he trying to hide them from Conan? Maybe at the end of the day, Conan shakes him down, and he's like, "What'd you steal today?"
That could be. I mean, he is a thief.
Give me half of it.
Yeah.
He's asking Conan to stick his hand somewhere.
You know what? That's the scene we're missing. Is at the end of the day where drunk Conan around the campfire is like shaking him down.
Give me the jewels.
Give me your coin purse.
I saw you take a jewel earlier. What did you do with it?
But yeah, I thought it was
like
weird.
literally turning him upside down.
Yeah.
Shaking him.
It was just weird. He was all about being the fool. Like, he thought it was an honor. He's like, "Can I be the fool?"
Yeah, I thought that was a little weird too.
I got the wizard guy, Akira, going.
Yeah.
You know?
And then Zula staying as the leader of the guards or something like that.
Shockingly, Conan.
So I like that everyone, as they were being asked by the now queen, I guess she's now the queen, I like that everyone looks to Conan to get his blessing, kind of.
Yeah.
Like, is it okay if I stay? You know? And
Well, he is the leader. I mean,
yeah, but it's not like outside of this quest, it's not like they have to get his permission to, you know.
Well,
but it's nice. I think I like the moment that
Conan saved Zula's life.
Yeah.
Akira
probably all of their lives. Yeah.
The thief guy was his little buddy. So
He probably saved him from something just like Subutai in the previous movie.
indebted.
Yeah.
It's like that old
Yeah.
school, I
Life
saved your
debt.
life, your life is mine now. kind
Right.
of thing.
Yeah.
Even in this movie, actually, remember the point where they're climbing down the waterfall and he catches him?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably happened 100 times. That kind of shit.
Yeah. I think as far as her asking Conan to stay and him
rule with her or something.
Yeah, like I thought that was weird to bring that back up. I think I would have preferred her knowing that he would not stay if she asked, but instead masking that sadness and that moment of being turned down, essentially, with the pretense of sending him away to go out into the world, fight monsters, go on quests, as if he's like her long distance protector, you know. Make a reason for her not to ask him to stay, but like to send him away because she knows he's going to go away anyways. I think it would have been maybe a little stronger had she, like I said, with that pretense of as if she's commanding him to go and not stay.
It would have been a good move too because they really play her up as super naive the whole movie.
Yeah.
And it would have been a good end for her to like, we get to at least see her kind of wisen up in the matters of the heart or whatever as she now takes the throne and lead all these people. Just now she's in charge.
Right.
Like we haven't really established, like she doesn't really ever do anything, say, particularly clever or anything. She just knows where to go.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of sells the character short, especially for the end.
Yeah. For her to still be wrapped up in Conan and wanting him to stay.
I get the sense that she's been locked away most of her life as a important object to the queen, so she has zero street smarts.
Yeah.
That's a good point. No social skills, really.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, she's been huddled away and just hanging out with Bombada, who's a great conversationalist.
Yeah.
Right.
And Conan decides to not join the party with all his friends and sit on a throne like a sad sack at the end of the movie.
Yeah. We still get that tease of King Conan that we've never, as of yet, has never come to.
Yeah. We're going to get a 68-year-old.
They're still talking about it. It's in, I don't know where it is now in production, but yeah, it's still planned for him to come back and do.
Look young in that new Guardians movie. So.
But, yeah, it's the Legend of Conan or something like that, and it's going to be a sequel to the Barbarian. It's as if Destroyer never happened. So they're going to kind of wipe this one away with. Apparently, it's still the plan. I don't know where that's at now, but.
All right. Yeah. Well, I think that wraps up the recap.
I think so. Pete, did you have anything else? And
the only part I left out was actually, did you guys read who was actually in the Dagoth costume?
I did. Yeah, and I meant to bring it up, but
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh,
it is Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. uncredited because he was in the suit the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
That is a waste of Andre the Giant.
Yeah, there's a picture that I saw like behind the scenes of both of them, Andre the Giant and Wilt Chamberlain, holding up Arnold. And I just assumed like, oh, Andre the Giant visited set that day, you know. But no, he looks so tiny between the two of them, and he's like sitting on like being propped up on both of their shoulders, or they're both like holding him up, and he just looks tiny. So
because what, he's like 6 foot. 6'1"?
Arnold?
Yeah.
6 something, I would think. 6'2".
I know what's his face is bigger than him by a good chunk. Ferrigno.
Oh, Lou
Ferrigno's bigger
Ferrigno.
than Arnold as far as height goes. Because I think Ferrigno's like 6'5".
Okay.
Something huge. It's like a double-edged sword with huge guys, because Wilt Chamberlain, it just looks awkward to be alive. like he's just so gangly, and like, if you remember that Bruce Lee film with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, it looks weird when he's like kicking and punching. It's like so. Just...
takes a lot to move those big limbs, you know. Yeah, Arnold's 6'2". So
6'2". Okay,
yeah. So I think that wraps up my notes as far as the movie itself. So
you want to do heroic and villain then?
Let's talk about most heroic.
I believe there's a hero in all of us
I just finally know what I have to do.
that keeps us honest,
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
gives us strength,
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards.
makes us noble.
And I know in my heart that it's right.
Oh, I already spoiled mine. The one-eyed wizard.
Is that legitimately who you had the whole time? That's awesome. That's
it.
awesome. Yeah. I think that's great.
Why do you think I was trying to make you guys see my point of view?
You're laying that.
This is going to be awkward.
Laying that trap
really
for
the
us.
bad guy.
Yeah, that's funny. I had Zula for spearing the Grand Vizier right before he slit Jenna's throat.
That was a good moment.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. I don't know that there was anything that was so super heroic that it really stood out to me much, but I'm gonna go with Conan actually just freeing Zula in the beginning. Like,
okay.
Just, you know, it shows he's not he's not that hard when it comes to wanting to judge another criminal, for example. You know, he himself has been in chains and was a slave, you know. Granted, he doesn't say anything about it. He just rolls up on his horse. Everyone gets out of the way. We assume they all know who he is. He cuts him free, you know.
But I think Jenna kind of urges him to release
Oh, that's
her.
true. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
don't
good
know
point.
if he would have just ridden on and left her in chains, or if he would have done it himself.
Maybe I'm remembering that wrong then. You know what? Inadvertently, I'm going to give the heroic moment to Jenna then for sparing her.
Nice.
She made it all possible.
He may have, because he says later that she reminds him of
Valeria.
Yeah,
that's true.
like the spirit and
He's like, she doesn't look like her, but
but
has that
like,
warrior
he
spirit. Yeah.
admires that. He can see the qualities that he liked in her, also in Zula.
Yeah.
So he may have.
Maybe. Yeah.
Don't be so easy to give up on Conan there.
Man, you just have like a forgiving heart this episode. You're like, let's take it easy on that evil wizard, and
everybody's cool, man.
yeah, maybe Dagoth wasn't a bad guy. We just didn't give him a chance
He
to.
just got some nasty blood in his sacrifice. He was a good dude. I'd been pissed off too if I woke up looking like that.
Yeah. Let's see. What about most villainous?
You were made to be ruled.
Gods are selfish beings who fly around in little red capes and don't share their power with mankind.
In the end, you will always kneel.
I think you and I are destined to do this forever.
I'll let you go first there.
I mean, just Queen Taramis for the initial or the ultimate plan of actually sacrificing Jenna, like going down to giving her the drink and putting her on this, you know, kickstarting this whole thing of actually putting the knife through her throat through the Vizier's character.
I thought you were going to go with the Vizier.
No, I mean, because he was working for her. Man,
They seem
she's
to be
ultimately the
cohorts, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just kind of that overall plot to sacrifice this
She's
teenager.
a wizard too, so why does she even need that guy?
I don't know.
That's weird. Why didn't she do the ritual?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it needed 2 wizards. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I just thought of that now. Like, why
Yeah.
did that guy even have to be in the movie?
I don't know. That could have been well, and actually when so like I said earlier, when Jerry Conway and Roy Thomas rewrote their story for Marvel Comics later on down the road, they kind of merged those two characters to create, just simplify it and make it one person, and it ended up being like a sorcerer who was the princess's father instead of aunt or
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so it does seem like maybe an unnecessary bit of story.
Okay. Pete, do you have a villainous person or moment or?
Well, I mean, though it didn't play out very well, I got to give it to Bombada. I mean, he was the one person who had the opportunity to truly be the villain, although we didn't get much dialogue from him. We did spend enough time with him on the screen that, his betrayal kind of meant something. Kind of?
Yeah.
It was executed in like a hollow fashion.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the cannibals trying to eat the wizard for his power.
No.
They're just trying to do what comes natural to them.
I mean, cannibals. Come on, that's evil.
Yeah. Okay.
I did like that scene, though. He's like,
yeah.
They didn't even wash you off. Just like dusting them off after they saved them from the fire. Those guys creep me out. That's all I'm saying.
I think that takes us to just overall thoughts and ratings. We rate out of 5 stars. So, Pete, why don't you take it away?
Oh man, I mean, I have so much love for Conan the Barbarian, and so much hate for this particular movie. It's so tough. I mean, it's watchable to me every once in a while just because it's like more Conan. But I'll also watch Red Sonja as well. I don't know if you ever added that to the lineup. Not to get too far off topic, but it's just the opportunity to see Arnold play the character again is the only thing that brings me back. But as we've discussed, the fact that we don't really get to know any of these characters, we don't really have much challenge to the plot. Nothing clever really happens. It's at best I can give it like 2.5. I want to give it a 3, but I don't know if you do 0.5s. Okay, I got to go with 2.5 then. I mean, there's just enough things in there to make me enjoy it and watch it, but not a lot for me to recommend it.
Okay.
I feel like I probably said that last time. I'm sure that I gave Barbarian a great rating.
Yeah, I think we almost all gave it 5s almost, or
yeah,
4,
close.
4, 5,
like
4.5. Yeah. It was pretty high up there, I think. So
I'd be curious. But in my head, even then, I was just thinking, like, man, I know I told you guys I'd come back for this one.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, God, I don't really want to watch that movie, though. It's so cheesy.
Let's see. The Barbarian, Patrick gave it a 3.
Yeah.
I gave it 4.25, and Pete, you gave it a 4. Yeah. And I remember you saying, like, it's in your heart as a 5, but like, as far as like movies go and stuff, you couldn't give it a 5, but
yeah, that makes sense.
So ultimately, it was a 3.75. So, but as far as the Destroyer goes, I am right there with you, Pete. It was a lot better than I was expecting, because I was expecting just cheesy sets, worse dialogue, worse everything. But those locations, the sets themselves, the costumes, I thought were all very impressive. Like I said, less impressive were the sound editing, sound design, some of the special effects and makeup with the wizard turning into the ape man. Those were pretty bad. I think this version of cheesy fantasy is what people expect from this genre. I know we talked about that with the Barbarian, how it was so much better than you think of when you think of fantasy and of movies. But I think this is that movie that everyone kind of expects when you think of fantasy. It's got extremely uncomfortable moments, like I was talking about with Princess Jenna's character, and it's definitely a watered down follow up to The Barbarian. So I've got to give Conan the Destroyer. I was right there with you, 2.5 or 3, but overall, I think I gotta land on a 2.5.
All right. Well, apparently I liked it a little bit less because I'm going with a 2.
Okay.
It was just a boring story. I was expecting more because I was like, okay, they did good on the last one, so now they're gonna have more money to put into this. But it didn't have that same epic feel that the first one did. This one seemed like an episode of Hercules with Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just wanders into the plot, solves it, wanders back out.
Got goofy sidekick, and then it just didn't feel like a movie to me. It felt like a long TV episode more than a movie.
Yeah.
Even with some good sets. I mean, there were some bad ones too. It's almost like even the ending sort of makes you think, okay, well, wait until the next adventure when he's the king.
Yeah.
Forget you saw this.
Yeah.
It's just showing him on a throne.
Right.
Sitting there, and it's like, okay, then why did I just watch this if the real story is to come?
Yeah.
I could have done without.
That dangling carrot that...
And why is he the destroyer? He didn't destroy that many things.
Yeah. They just needed a title.
Like, the title was awful.
Yeah.
I understood Conan the Barbarian.
Sure. Yeah.
Conan the Destroyer, I thought he was going to, like, take down an empire or something, or something.
Yeah.
He ripped a horn off a guy and beat up an old wizard.
Yeah.
And he was handicapped. He only had one eye, for crying out loud. Although I will say it was odd that you didn't get any like sorcery special effects. It was all just hand gestures and stuff moving or an illusion of a girl on fire.
Well, you know what? They might have, now that you mention it, they might have shot that thinking like, all right, you just move your hands around.
Yeah.
We'll take care of the rest and edit in later. And then in the end, they were like, we've already spent $18 million. Just cut it, print it. Let's get it to the movies.
We don't need any like lightning effects like the Emperor from Star Wars.
I think that's what I kept expecting to see, like some kind of effect. Mm-hmm. You had it a little bit with the hawk monster, like smoke thing.
Oh, sure. That was just animation.
Yeah, that was as close as you got to like spells, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
just a lot of like it was more like telekinetic than wizardry. Like that whole mouth opening thing, where they're like trying to open it back up so they can chase them in the cave.
Yeah, the chamber thing that they were hiding in.
It was like the Force, like Jedi kind of thing, rather than. So I guess it's old school wizardry.
Yeah,
with no fancy whooshing and sparks or something. But yeah, so you have 2. So we're about what
2.333. Yeah.
2 point some number I'm not going to be able to know off the top of my head.
Yeah, so that's about where I figured we'd be. Yeah, yeah. I think that's okay for Conan the Destroyer.
Oh, you know what? I think I understand the title now.
Okay.
It destroyed my appetite to ever watch a Conan movie again.
Well, it's a good thing because there really aren't anymore. I guess they had Conan the Conqueror was going to be the next movie, but then, Arnold said he didn't want to do another one. His contract was up.
One, didn't they?
Yeah, but that doesn't really count as far as this goes.
Right.
And so they adapted the story they planned for Conan the Conqueror and just changed it to Kull the Conqueror.
All right, I think that'll do it for this episode of Conan Destroying My Will to Live.
Yeah. Pete, is there anything you want to plug or talk about here at the end?
Well, as always, I got to plug my podcast, although we haven't recorded it in a long time.
Yeah.
It's kind of old now, but my first journey and someone else's first journey through Battlestar Galactica, the reimagined Battlestar Galactica. I guess the easiest way to find it is on iTunes. It's Resurrection Cast. There's also a website, resurrectioncast.blogspot.com.
Yeah, it's a great show. It was fun to be a part of a few times that I was able to. So
yeah, it was. I mean, I still look back on it fondly as like the most difficult test of my willpower.
Yeah,
to not just Google it and I've seen everything now. I mean,
right. Have you gone back and rewatched the show?
Yeah, some. Yeah,
Okay.
Select episodes. I don't think that I've watched every single. Well, because I watched every episode 2-3 times, when I got one.
Yeah.
So I definitely, I didn't miss anything, I don't think. I think I caught it all. But it's a good time, and I'll definitely come back on this too. I'll have to go back and take a look at the list. I just assumed it was a natural jump to Conan here, so I don't know what I jumped to next, but
I'm glad you kept, came back for the sequel. Seemed fitting. So, let us know if there's something else you want to come back for in the future. But
certainly,
listeners can find us at on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Real Comic Heroes. You can email us at realcomicheroes@gmail.com. You can head over to iTunes, leave us a nice rating. And speaking of which, we've got one from Mark Meadows with 5 stars. It says, Travis and Patrick are funny. They're great to hang out with and just all around a great time. And that's from Mark Ibarra, who we met at Chicago Movies by Minutes Con. And he's one of the hosts of DCEU Minute, and they just started their coverage of Batman v Superman, so you should definitely check them out. Secondly, we've also got another 5-star review from T2 Me Too, which is a great name. It says, as I've gotten to spend time face to face with these guys, I can tell you the banter and friendship is genuine. Great reviews and entertaining dialogue. Stuck in my downloads for good now. And I don't know who this is. I suspect it's Thomas from Neverending Minute, who we also met and we hung out and ate nachos with at Movies by Minute Chicago. So I think that's who this is. So either way, check out their show, Neverending Minute. They're doing the Neverending Story, 1 minute at a time.
Yeah. Okay. So next time
we'll be back
with some more Arnold.
Yes.
A little Terminator, the OG version.
Yeah.
Where he's a bad guy.
Yeah. That should be interesting to jump into that one.
It's the first part of the love story between himself and John Connor.
That's true.
Until then, we will see you in the next adventure.
Stay safe out there, citizens.
In the 21st century, a weapon will be invented like no other. This weapon will be powerful, versatile, and indestructible. It can't be reasoned with. It can't be bargained with. It will feel no pity, no remorse, no pain, no fear. It will have only one purpose: to return to the present and prevent the future. This weapon will be called the Terminator.
You're dead, honey.
What day is it? The date?
12th May, Thursday.
What year?
I'm here to help you. I'm Reese, DN 38416, assigned to protect you. You've been targeted for termination.
Why does it want me? Why me?
Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Terminator. Your future is in its hands.